about 7:30 in the morning, and we are just about loaded up and ready to roll out to the Pierre Street Masters Oahe Dam Run in my 1967 Ford F100. If you followed the channel at all, it is a Crown Vic independent front suspension swapped 5-liter out of something in the 80s, and yeah, we're ready to go. 300 and some odd miles to South Dakota. We're gonna cannonball it from here till there. I don't know if you can call it cannonballing when you're doing it in the daylight, but anyway, my son Eli and I are gonna go up there and we're gonna document our trip. I'm excited, but I'm also nervous. It'll be the longest trip by far for this truck. we made it. 300 miles on the dot. Had a bit of an exhaust leak at one point, but that is resolved now. Truck is just, it's impressing me. This has been a 3-year build that was supposed to be 9 months, and now I'm getting to enjoy it, and I absolutely love it. Plus I'm frankly pretty excited that I get to park this truck underneath that water tower, which was where I used to park my 72 F100 that I had in high school, in this very spot in my parents' driveway. And I looked at that water tower every day as I would leave to go to school. It's pretty neat. So what's your name?
My name's Randy Scott.
And what's the truck?
The truck's a 63 Chevy C10 short box.
Okay. And what's the story behind the truck?
Well, I worked at a GM dealership in Aberdeen, South Dakota for almost 40 years. And I had a friend of mine that was a salesman, and he traded it in off of, it was a light used farm truck with about 60,000 miles on. Really nice shape. So at the time I bought it, and that was like over 30 years ago. And I stored it for like 15 years before I got to it.
Okay.
And then I spent about 5 years restoring it, kind of on and off. And it's been done for about 12 years now.
Okay, I see the license plates say like father.
Okay, well, here's the story behind that. A friend of mine, we're both working on trucks, so we bought one down by Chicago that the guy had started on and didn't get it finished and got married and had a kid and had to sell it. So we went and bought the truck and parts, and he used the frame and several other parts. And when we all got done, we had an extra cab, so I took the cab, and I hated to waste a good cab, so built another truck, and this is like father, like son, so it was my son's idea to put those plates on it, so that's the story on the license plate.
Okay.
Craig Fawcett from Highmore, South Dakota. Been a Street Masters, I think, 5 years. 65 Chevelle Malibu convertible. It's ermine white. My first one in 1970 was ermine white. We found this one, found out it was originally that color, and I had to put it back to original. So it's original interior, original top, cleaned up underneath there, and it was just kind of a family project. We had a lot of fun and enjoy it. So always had to build one because we tore up so many of them dirt track racing. So needed a 65. So thank you.
Danny and Linda Brunemeyer.
Where are you from?
Winter, South Dakota.
Make, model, year of the car?
1968 Buick GS.
What's the story?
400. Well, I bought it when I was a sophomore in high school in 1970. Picked her up for our first date. We got married. Then our children come along, so we had to sell it. The car never left the county that we live in, Tripp County. My kids about 15 years ago come hauling it in on a trailer for Christmas.
Okay.
So 7 years and several $1,000s, here it is.
What shape was the car in?
When they picked it up, and I had seen the car before, there was a tree growing up through the engine compartment. So and it's been frame off. I had this car in many Ziploc baggies, parts and screws, and left front window, right front door, it just frame off. Buddies came out and we lifted it off the frame, hung it in one of my shops, pulled the frame out. I actually crawled under the car with a wire wheel and buffed the whole underside. Painted it, the frame the same way. It's been frame off, everything. Every suspension bushing, everything. It's like a brand new car.
All right, it's a couple of days after the big road trip, and I'm just reflecting here on it, thinking about the 800 miles that we made, and well, frankly, that it didn't fall apart. It's a thing I built and it didn't fall apart, which is pretty awesome, really. However, it wasn't without some issues. Found that the intake manifold gasket leaks like a sieve out the front. And that was actually causing us some of the problems we were having as far as oiling goes. 1040 was way too thick, made it so that we weren't having good oiling up top when the motor got hot. I was trying to deal with the fact that I thought it was just blow-by that was causing the leak, but it isn't. It's actually the intake gasket. So anyway, after a long conversation with some of the Street Masters guys, including my dad and Cale Urban, went ahead and put 520 in it, and that seems to have solved the problem. Didn't solve the leak, but solved the clattering issue. It doesn't ride perfectly great, doesn't like big bumps, but it's a dropped truck. That's kind of how they ride. But it did prove that these old trucks just need to be gotten out and driven. Just go drive your stuff. Like, don't be afraid to take your old truck or car on a road trip. Just go do it. What's the worst that can happen? Your wife has to come pick you up? Which maybe that is a bad thing. But in my case, we just literally went 800 miles with very limited issues and a whole lot of fun. And today, as I take my youngest son to college, I can do so confidently knowing that he and I made some memories that will last a long, long time before he did. So on that note, this closes my little documentary for our trip to the 2022 Oahe Dam Run. And we're gonna be there for 23.